What's up, people? Sitting back in my van right now. Well, Roxy girl, what is she doing? I'm gonna flip the camera around. Huh. But Roxy girl chilling out. Like to talk to y'all for a second. What do you think of that? I buzz cut it. So it'll grow back on it. But Lord, our country, I hope we get through everything and I hope we get straight. I'm in South Dakota trying to get some downtime from what's going on in our government because it's got me amazed and disappointed too. But as great as this country is, our founders created those documents. I'm sure y'all know the documents I'm talking about. But are constantly coming under attack. You know, we have these leaders that come into power, and their first thing is they'll say, we're going to put a hand on the Bible and take an oath to the Constitution that we will defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't think that carries much weight anymore. I know with all the U.S. code laws we have, we see politicians left and right actually breaking U.S. code law that would hold them for treason. But we don't hold people for treason anymore. Maybe a civilian, not an elected official. And that's a whole nother story. Civilian, you go against the government and you're liable to be held without representation or anything. Political prisoner. We already see that happening in our country. But anyway, the documents, Constitution, Bill of Rights. You know, I myself I'm a gun person. My father was a police officer and a detective, and naturally he served in, I guess it was the Korean War. But he brought me up around guns. Gun is a tool, is what it is. And here in our country, things used to be real lax. But now, an American citizen, you have to be vetted if you go through the normal channels, which most of us do. We go to a gun shop, we buy a new gun. Even a used gun, but we buy a gun at the gun shop. They run a federal background check on you. So that means as an American citizen, you're being vetted. Okay, remember that. You're vetted when you buy a gun. So you come home with the gun. The federal government's good enough to say, yes, we've seen that you're a good American citizen, and you can go home with your gun. Now we get to the 50 little dictatorships. That is a problem. Things have gotten a little better. There's quite a few states now that have constitutional carry. You know, that they feel that you were vetted by the federal government. You've got your constitutional rights to carry. I'm not sure if it's concealed or open. But anyway, I grew up in a state that had no permit open carry. And I'm just one of those guys, I don't like open carry. To me, that says if you're out and a gun's open, a criminal or somebody wants to do evil, because there's plenty of evil out there. If you see someone with a gun and you're an evil person, that might be your first target to take them out so you can do what you want to do. So that's why I really am not an advocate for open carry. You know, to me that just says, hey, look at me, I'm the first guy you should shoot. That's my belief. Everybody's got their own belief. But so I'm not really into open carry. So being that I come from a state that allowed open carry, I always wanted to conceal carry. So, like I say, I've been carrying a weapon for, let's say, legally, um, 40 plus years, probably pushing more than that. And concealed carry, I've been carrying, Lord, I'd have to look back at my first permit, probably pushing on over 3 decades, easily. And I've moved around in the United States, so now that I'm living in a different state that I wasn't raised in, I've got their permit and driver's license, and I still carry a non-resident permit in another state. So if you look at my situation, I've been vetted by the federal government, then I've been vetted by the state I live in, and I've been vetted by another state. So that means I've been vetted 3 different times that I'm a good American citizen. I've got my right to carry a handgun or a firearm, a weapon, whatever you want to say. Now the permits are different. Some are carry permits, meaning you can carry it either way you want, and some permits are just concealed carry. Usually they do that in states that have open carry. But anyway, we go around the United States of America, at least the lower 48, because we've seen Hawaii is messed up. If I don't think Hawaii is messed up, type in on your Google search the Supreme Court case Young versus Hawaii and explain to me. Remember, we fought a revolution for this country, but explain to me how the Supreme Court had to use Hawaiian territorial law and English law to reach a verdict against Young versus Hawaii. But that's another case. That's really messed up. But getting back to permits. So me and anyone else that's got a gun permit, if you just got a gun permit in your state and you bought a handgun or a firearm, whatever, you have been vetted once by the federal government and once by your state government. And you go all around the lower 48, and there is quite a few states that honor your permit. Even some states now with this constitutional carry honors that you are an American citizen even if you don't have a permit, because they are a constitutional carry. They, guarantee your constitutional rights. But we constantly have leaders coming into office, a lot of them staying in the office. Seems like nobody wants to vote them out. You take California, Massachusetts, Maine, I think, can't remember which one it was. There's a couple states that have gun rosters. And what they are doing, the ATF is the ones that sets the policies as to what weapons can come into America and be bought, owned, and carried by American citizens. But these 2 or 3 states, I can't remember how many it is, California, and there's one on the East Coast, I can't remember, it might be Massachusetts. They have what's considered a gun roster, meaning I don't care if you're an American citizen or not, you're not allowed to buy the same weapons as other American citizens are. Here is your weapons you can buy. That is the God's honest truth. That's the way those states are run. And as far as getting a permit, good luck. Good luck with that. Even a non-resident, good luck with that. It would probably take a whole bunch of money and a whole lot of time, and most normal people don't have that kind of money or time to try to get a permit so that you can be that state compliant. And remember, you already been vetted and the federal government's vetted you for buying the gun. And if you got a permit, you've already been vetted by your state. And like me, I've been vetted in multiple states, but yet I'm still not an American citizen in some of the states as far as your constitutional rights. And the American people has let that happen. And I guess the idea of the politicians and some of the people that, think this way, if you really think your safety comes down to not allowing American people their weapons to own and carry, when you give up your freedoms for the act of safety, you'll have neither. That's like most places. I've lived here in the last couple decades, like where I live now. We call it no man's land. You would be able to get a state police officer to my neighborhood faster than you would the actual county that I live in. The county doesn't come out. We've already been through instances where we had to get help up there, and it takes pretty close to 45 minutes to be the fastest I can see them coming. And usually if it's bad enough, they'll send that county that I live in their police in and their rescue squad, because the county I live in, they can't get there quick enough. So if you think something goes down and you one of these people that are going to agree to let your rights go, or you don't want a weapon or whatever, don't come down on the people that want to protect themselves, because 911 is not always your answer. And I know people don't like me saying this, because you're not supposed to brandish a firearm. But I can tell you the God's honest truth. The actual act of being able to brandish a firearm and never shoot a shot might save your life. And you can take that to the bank. But this mess that we're still going through this, even after we built this nation, we're still going through this taxation without representation. Didn't we fight a revolution over that very thing? Taxation without representation. Think about it. I pay federal taxes. Every one of y'all that works and gets taxes taken out of your paycheck, you pay your federal taxes. Those federal taxes are spent by the federal government in all 50 states. And the American citizen doesn't have no say-so about that whatsoever. Even if your tax dollars goes to a state that considers you a second-class citizen, or won't honor your rights that you have, your gun permit. How many times does an American citizen have to be vetted? Like, say I'm already vetted 3 times, so it shouldn't be a problem, but it still is a problem. Thank God I haven't run into a state yet that goes against U.S. law about transporting a weapon. Y'all can look that up yourself. It's U.S. Code 926A. So when I'm traveling, I make sure I do that. But this mess we're going through is getting to what I would consider tyrannical. The Supreme Court, when American citizens, when they have had a grievance against a town, a county, a state, whatever, and you go through all the court systems and you still don't get what you're looking for, and you still feel you're right, you keep making appeal until it goes to the Supreme Court, because they are the ultimate law, right? And they are supposed to be non-political. They're not biased to one political party or the other. That's what I've been taught all my life. Joe Biden writes a letter to the Supreme Court for them not to hear the case in New York. Well, they had already heard the case before he wrote the letter, and they redacted their finding on the case. Y'all can go look that up. And when a president starts writing the Supreme Court, asking them to lean one way or the other against your Constitution, what other legal remedies do you have? Because I can tell you, if you listen to Joe Biden, he's going to let you know you go against the government, and he's already said this, you're going to need F-15s and nuclear weapons. So he's letting you know you try to go against the government, he will annihilate you with a nuke. It's pretty great from a leader, right? But that's, it's on YouTube. You can see it out of the man's mouth for yourself. But I don't know what we're going to do. I'm trying to take some downtime here in South Dakota, because after I listened to some of the stuff Biden did and with this mess on the border, it just blew my mind. I just had to get away, trying to stay off my phone. I'm sitting here now at the campsite. I did some riding today. I'm pretty much parked for the night. I ain't going nowhere, watch a movie or something. But I just can't believe that our country is going down this path. I really can't. I hope we finally get straight. But I honestly feel we're being sold out. That's like with this Green New Deal. I don't know if y'all realize it. I just did some lithium batteries in my van here. Had to get them from China. The American name ones I was going to get, they couldn't get them to me. And after I did some research, the reason why is because the components are made in China. They could not get them. They were American sounding name. So I ended up actually going with a Chinese brand, and they actually got them to me. So we go down this Green New Deal with electric cars. I hope they got some nuclear power plants coming up like crazy, because there's going to be a lot of power stations needed to charge those batteries. And I hope people realize they're thinking an electric car, oh man, 300, 400 miles to a charge. Yep, they got them like that. But how many times before you ruin your battery pack can you take that car and do that full 300 miles until you kill the batteries and thinking, oh, I can just keep charging to back up? Even with lithium, it doesn't work that way. You drain them to zero, you start losing some capacity. So you might end up with a car to get you 300 miles, 350 miles to a charge. And then 6 months, because you keep letting it go down too low and then throwing juice to it, and in 6 months' time, you're not getting but 200 miles out of a charge. And we start burning up these battery packs. Think about it. Where are the battery packs being manufactured? Where is the lithium at? We just gave up a bunch of lithium in Afghanistan. The Chinese jumped on that. So China is where the batteries are coming from. We don't have the minerals, and we don't have the expertise or the facilities to manufacture what Joe Biden is talking about. It would probably take, I don't know how much money, but it would probably take a good 15, 20 years to really get the facilities up to be able to produce the battery packs. But we still have a problem. We don't have the lithium. We don't have the raw earth minerals to do these batteries. There's a bunch, I think, down in Australia. They said there was a bunch in Afghanistan, and naturally there's a bunch in China. So I think that's going to present a problem. we're going to be beholding to China. That doesn't sound good in my mind. Hey, what I know, I'm just an old country boy. But I think we need to really stop and think what we're doing in this country. I understand the safety point of view. It's just like with these Terry stops and all that stuff. You still got constitutional rights. And when you start letting the government take away in a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, just like Joe Biden himself said, the Constitution was never absolute. That's on YouTube too. That's when he talked about you'd need the F-15s and nuclear weapons to go against the government. He said the Constitution was never absolute. At one time, certain people could not own weapons. Who was he talking about? Indians? Blacks? Chinese? Who was it? Curious for y'all to hit me back on that answer. But, peace, people, I'm rambling on. I think you need to fight for your Constitution. You already saw we're starting to lose the First Amendment, too. And if you really like to do some reading online, need to read H.R. 1's bill. I believe there's language in that bill that says you cannot speak bad about a politician. So when it gets to where your speech can make you a political prisoner, and you see what they're doing with political prisoners, they have no rights and no representation. They're sitting in D.C. right now. Ain't saying what they did was right, but they are political prisoners. They don't have any representation, and they don't have any rights. But I hope we hold our country together. Peace, people. Be safe. Be proud. And try to fight for your rights.